The if statement is used in PowerShell to perform tests and execute statements based on the results of that test. The general form is to say if, then have parentheses with a test inside, followed by curly braces surrounding a block of statements to perform if the test is true. The test may be simple or complex. An example of the simple test is to compare two values in objects. -EQ is the test. The two things to work on are around the EQ. Other tests might include -LT for less than, -GT for greater than, -NE for not equal, -GE for greater than or equal, and -LE for less than or equal. Regardless of the test performed, if the test is true, whatever statements are inside the curly braces will execute. If the test is false, they will not execute. In this example, we've created an integer object, placed it in a variable. We've created another integer object, placed it in a variable, and we have tested whether or not those two are equal. If they are, we create a string saying they're equal, which will by default display. If one of those were to change to a new value, and we perform the test again, the if statement will determine that the test is false and the statements inside the curly braces will not execute, giving us no output. We can improve our test by covering the case where the test is not true. So we can specify in our if statement the first test, whether or not they're equal, and if they are, have curly braces with a statement to execute, namely printing out that they're equal, followed by the else statement, which means if the test is not true, do the statements contained in the curly braces after the else statement. In this case, we create a string printing that they're not equal because the test failed. We can extend this mechanism even further by doing our if statement with a test. If it's true, statements exist to execute inside the curly braces. We can follow that with an else if, which allows us to place an additional test with statements to execute. That if can have its own else statement, because if this one is false, we want to do this. In terms of the logic in this one, our first test is whether number 1 is greater than number 2. If it is, we'll print out something to that effect. If it is not, now we'll test if number 1 is less than number 2. If it is, we'll print out that that means number 2 is greater than number 1. If neither one of these things happened, the only other option is to print out that the two were equal. For additional information on tests you can perform and combining multiple tests into a Boolean expression, see the About If help document on your own machine or in the online pages.